want to add to the conversation, then they do have to identify themselves.
Well, I guess a couple weeks ago when I was here, that woman from Rudyard, I guess you probably knew her anyway, but I didn't originally, I didn't. So we got in the conversation more and
Right.
talking about Rudyard. Anyway,
And a lot of them will do that. They'll put, Willie L or Glenda P or something like that, just
Yeah.
instead of the full name. But yeah,
plus they had a camera on the other end of their thing, you wouldn't,
right.
for
Yeah,
something when you're doing official business with other
sure.
guys, you have pictures on both ends, so I.
Right.
Different.
You're on. Just kick this up.
You're rolling.
Yeah, you're on.
Cool. Oh, it is 2:00 anyway, so 2:00 PM. We'll call the weekly commissioner working session to order for March 2nd, 2026. Here we have all three commissioners, our executive administrative assistant to the commission, Tiffany Tanner, as well as our esteemed person from the community, Doug. Doug, what's your last name? I apologize. Well, last name.
Last name,
Yeah.
Doug Helney,
How do you spell that?
Heltne.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
I had it right for the
I have
record.
hearing issues, so anyway,
Yes, sir. All right, who do we have up online? Kim Berg and Courtney Dietrich?
Yep.
All right, public comments on non-agenda items. Public comments on agenda items. All right, topics for discussion. Updates on COA.
Please take that off of there. I mean, we're open back up. I don't have any updates.
Okay. Bill, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I think we have it open if somebody has something. Or they
Yeah,
can-
if there's any updates, I'll move forward.
Great West discussion? Right,
What's our next? meeting?
your next what?
When is our next scheduled meeting?
Say the 19th or something? Not gonna remember it.
Let's see here. Sure, you have to take a look. I can't seem to find it on a quick search here. Commissioner Boyd, committee reports. I forgot to update, from Mako, that I went to a couple weeks ago. I moderated a, mental health panel. Joette Woods, our, former Mako president and Liberty County commissioners on there, as well as Andy Hunthausen and a couple of folks from North Central Montana Mental Health. And we just had basically an open discussion about, mental health services in both rural and urban communities. Helena's doing some really good things with their mental health services. They're partnering with their local hospitals and whatnot, and working with their law enforcement to help out with that. Sydney did have a interesting scenario where they have a person that lives within the community of Sydney. She's homeless. She has some diagnosed mental health issues. A lot of times her friends will like get her a hotel room for a few nights and help her out, but then she'll be right back on the street. Well, then she'll end up breaking the law and they'll send her to the Montana State Mental Hospital. And then she'll be back in the community within a couple of weeks with a baggie full of pills that they give her and just said, here. And, Richland County's thing is that how do we help her long term? We feel like we're just spinning our wheels here. They definitely want to help her out. So we had a good open discussion on that. We're gonna have to change some stuff at the legislative level, and then working with our Montana State Hospital a little closer So that way we can get those folks the help that they need within our communities. So it was a great discussion. I was really impressed. On our ag council, we're talking about wheat prices. We're talking about, you know, actually kind of tied in mental health in our ag communities. During the last couple of years, we've had 3 suicides south of Red Yard from farmers. And so it is definitely something that is a huge topic of conversation. We're kind of working with our mental health, or not mental health, our Health and Human Services Committee in trying to find some answers so that way we can help out our constituents statewide. So it was really educational. It was really helpful. And I think, representatives from all 56 counties are really putting our heads together so that way we can try and come up with some answers. All right, well, that kind of brings us to the end here. Public comments on non-agenda items.
You guys asked last week to put the mosquito contract on here for discussion.
Yeah.
I didn't catch it till Friday.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Well,
sure.
it'd be a discussion we probably would need to go into executive session for it.
Okay, yeah, we definitely would. So,
Do this one then.
oh, please, please.
Well, you mentioned this one other thing. I believe the suicide rate for agricultural workers is like 3.5 times the general population.
It is. And we touched on that and on, why is it that ag farmers are more susceptible to suicide? And, one thing that I look at is the swings that farmers face. You're kind of budgeting for, say $6-7 wheat per bushel, and then all of a sudden it drops to $3-4 a bushel. Trying to make up that loss is very hard. And then with everything that's going on in the federal government with all that,
And then there's also a lot of isolation.
a lot of isolation,
There's
you have your busy time of the year for ag producers. You got, spring seeding and then fall seeding and harvest and everything. But the winter months when you don't have a lot of vitamin D and you're just stuck in the shop alone, that definitely has a huge factor into it. So,
Maybe they need to come in the senior center.
right. Yeah, come and have some coffee. Yeah, chat it up.
good point, Doug.
I believe Mr. Miller and his wife still come down and, we have a lot of our retired ag producers, which is really good.
I familiar with your talking about the suicide and what the farmer act people and
Yep.
how they try. I watched this Sunday morning egg show RFD count, and the price of wheat has jumped up to almost $6 now just the last couple weeks.
Yep.
But the around the war, that'd be as a positive thing, but that could help.
Yeah.
The other thing, and the price of gas is gonna go up, and probably fertilizer. and some other-
Yep.
I don't know if you're gaining. I did notice on the news, state news, the state has kind of a special group that is looking at the farm and ranch, farm mostly with the high input cost and the low
Mhm.
commodity cost. They're trying to figure out some way they can
Definitely.
do a little bit more to help.
Yeah. And just like what I was saying before with, just basic math, you take 50,000 bushel. Okay, at $7 a bushel, you're looking at $350,000. But $4 a bushel, you're looking at $200,000. So that is a $150,000 swing just like that. So,
And like I say, with your input costs going up,
mhm.
fertilizer and other things,
Yep,
and
round up all of it.
it's. But anyway, the state recognized it's a problem. They're trying to come up with some ideas.
Yep, which is good. We want the smart folks, looking into that. And, I think, Governor Gianforte is doing a good job of putting the right people in place to, try to combat that.
A
So,
little more moisture would be nice.
well, yeah, a lot of things, would be solved with moisture and, so,
You have a question and a hand raised.
okay. Let's go with the hand raise first, then we'll get into the question. Go ahead, Kim.
Jake, I sent you guys all an email today, but I was wondering, I just wanted to follow up on the RSIDs. Could you please send out the process that we had potentially discuss that because they have to come to the commissioners. You guys are the board overseeing the RSIDs. They don't come to the sanitarian. And we're still
Yeah.
having people being sent to us from different departments in the county as well. So
Yeah.
if that could just be a black and white statement of get a hold of Tiffany and get on your calendar, I would appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. We'll send out the email, and I apologize that when I responded, I forgot to include that. So I will get that out to all employees and kind of put baseline on how the process works. So thank you, Kim. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
What was our question up there?
Courtney asked if you could leave the senior center update on the agenda, even to say if there's no update, then they don't have to wait to get it on the agenda when something comes up. Red Yard isn't functioning yet, and it would. Communication open.
Okay.
Do it in the weekly business meeting. I don't know why it needs to be on a working session. I asked for it to be taken.
Yeah.
Weekly business meeting. And I think it's on there anyway.
Yeah, we have it on there twice. We have, our Thursday meeting and then our Monday meeting.
So what are we doing?
Well, what's our decision? I'm fine if we want to leave it on, as long as we are touching on that weekly, and just, giving updates. I mean, I'm fine with it either staying on Thursday or Monday.
Well, at the very minimum, we keep it on Thursdays.
Yeah.
It gives a week when we're doing it Monday, Thursday, and then, Friday, and then Monday again. A lot of times there's nothing.
There's only one day in between.
Exactly. That's why I'm asking for it to please be taken off of the working session and just do it once a week. Business meeting.
We want to just roll on Thursdays then?
I'm good. Like I said, though, if something comes up, we can always add it under the other ones.
And they're not agenda even.
Yeah, could we, if there is an update on, say, a Monday, add that to the non-agenda items portion if somebody from the community does want to come in and talk about something that happened on Friday or the weekend or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, leave it wide open already for things to come up.
Sure. Okay. All right.
What are your guys' thoughts, Doug?
Yeah, you guys spent a lot of time over there.
Okay, where are we on? Well, Joanne and I and some of the others, Larry, we talk among ourselves during the week, about things when we're there and things we should bring up or discuss or try to figure out. But, well,
I can see.
okay, I got a little list there, but anyway, I hate to bring up the writer again, but the only thing I can say is, the people up there need to form a little group or committee, sit down among themselves and decide how they want to move forward, and then talk to you guys, because you don't really know for sure right now what they want, I guess, but just kind of have to get off the right there, and just I realize there's been issues in the past, but we gotta kind of look ahead, I guess. That would be unless you guys know, because it's been hard for you guys to make any decisions about what to do up there without getting some input from them. I was wondering now, when there is your funding for Hill County dependent on where they have a senior center at Rudyard, or how does that work? Or is it cut back because there is a senior center there? Just a question I have in my mind.
I mean, I don't want to step on your toes, Director Gary, but one thing that it does take into account is a numbers game too. So if, they're not receiving meals up there or doing activities up there, just like what happened, we have to sign in up here, those numbers show the state that, hey, we are utilizing programs. So in a numbers game, yeah, it does affect the numbers. How that translates to budgetary, or funding, I'm not sure, but
Yeah,
yep, but I mean, that's the reason that we do say, okay, we had X amount of people here today versus not, so.
but
yeah.
now you're funding for Hill County as a whole and Havertide.
It's all area 3, yeah.
Depends on, that's why it's, the numbers of people that are using the center, and the number of people that are using the meals or eating meals and the commodities and the meals on wheels, all those numbers. The more numbers we have, the
Yeah.
more money we get, I guess, is the bottom line is.
It definitely has an effect, and, like our conversation last week, Doug, about, commodities and whatnot, and how many people are utilizing that program, that definitely has an effect on, how we operate and do things, but, what the actual numbers look like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering too, and I don't know if your funding from the state comes in on a monthly basis or on a quarterly, or it's kind of is it a hit and miss deal, or every day, every month it comes in on a
I
certain
think
date.
it's monthly, isn't it?
There's a lag there.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I was just wondering, and Joanne and I talked about it, in running business and whatnot, we get a profit and loss statement every month or a financial statement, and I don't know if that's ever been done. It's done on a quarterly, probably, and a yearly.
Mhm.
Maybe it would be too much extra work. It'd be kind of hard with the meals and everything kind of added in. I don't know, but I realize right now, we're kind of on a monthly basis, we're not, evening out. Now that we've got the meals in the house, it's probably helping. I don't know.
Well, the big thing is with Rudyard's 40 some miles away. People there are not gonna be able to drive here every day to the
Yeah, I
cemetery.
realize.
So the idea was to have something that was near them for the same reasons that we would have it here. And so we do have volunteers here. We also have paid staff here. Right now, we don't have anything over there. So that's where the challenge is trying to figure out how we're gonna be able to provide more support over there. And that's one of the things that Rachel Williams is doing, is trying to get a list of volunteers and people that would assist.
Yeah,
And maybe it would be, we get more people to assist here. I don't know.
and, I realize that we're just kind of starting from scratch here in Avery, and so it's, I just heard to, separate one issue from the other, but, I don't know if our meals numbers in-house are fairly good, or if we could be doing better, and that would always be that's about the only, variation we have in money coming in is the meals,
Mhm.
and, so I don't know how S&D could, change that exactly, but, and, yeah.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah, and we do have half a dozen people that are snowbirds, and I know are not in Havre right now, but are pretty regular meal eaters. So, I don't know. But anyways, the other thing I was gonna bring up was, we talked about, I mentioned, a couple times here about all these fundraisers that, Chinook has most of the time on Saturday morning. And, she already ran into a little problem with her activity fund card thing, and, what I understand from the Thursday meeting. But I just wondered if, people that have been to the senior center before, that they've had, rummage sales, once or twice a year, and that would be, I don't think, as far as the fundraising that they do in Chinook on Saturday morning, I don't, because it's open to the community, and it isn't like a mandatory thing for the senior center users to be there. But I don't know if there'd be a conflict with the state on that. The fact that the Chinook has a different oversight with the state, you know, but, other senior centers must have fundraisers too, and I don't know how they handle that, but, some of us are kind of brainstorming amongst themselves.
Sure, no, I think that's brilliant.
The only thing is, most of these things would probably have to be done on a Saturday, and so we would have to have somebody there, management, a senior center or somebody responsible that would be
Sure.
to supervise what was going on Saturday, but I think that could be worked out one or another too, but,
Definitely. No, I think those are really good ideas.
anything else you want to, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify something. When I come to these meetings and I'm sitting here, that does not mean that I have a gripe. It does not mean that I have something major or earth shattering to bring up or to discuss. I come here because I get a lot of calls from seniors in the community who want to know what the facts are. So I have to come to where the facts are being talked about or are being made, and that's here, you know. And if there is something that is very controversial and I'm hearing 3 different things, I may at a meeting ask clarification on something.
Mhm.
But just because I'm here does not mean I'm fussing about something.
Sure.
You know, I'm here really to gather facts and then to share the facts that I gather with the community, with the people that are trusting me to get the facts and to find out the truth about particular things.
Perfect.
Okay, is that all right?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I
definitely.
told him that before you got here. No, but I just want to mention that, Joanne, runs the front desk on Monday morning. So that's how she gets, I know her phone's ringing constantly. So she's pretty good at, and then Ursula's there quite a bit and then Teresa. But, Joanne is the only one that comes to these things, but so she hears a lot of things. And you know, there's been a lot of rumors and misinformation about different things going around, and so it's hard sometimes probably for you or any of us to, keep people informed about, you know, what really is happening, so we're kind of confused ourselves at times, so anyway.
Well, it's a matter of listening, like with anything, listening to people. Everybody has a point, you know.
Perfect. No, thank you. And I really appreciate these conversations. Any other public comments on non-agenda items?
Stuff on the agenda, I guess, for the deputies. You know, like-
It's not on there, but we can definitely have that
Okay.
conversation.
I just wanted to share some
Leave
stuff.
it off and just bring it under my agenda.
Yeah, because it was so late in the day. And
So anyways, it is on the elected officials, the deputies. I just wanted to share information with you. And then, I am looking also with you guys. Just so you can see how the deputies, elected officials, doesn't include county attorney, because like I said, they run under deputy county attorneys run under different statute.
Sure.
Here it goes.
Thank you.
Anyways, that way you can look and see if people were actually have always been either hired or appointed under the 75 and then have moved after that. And I guess, you know, the premise is you do one or the other, you know, it's suggested that elected official, you know, puts them on and does whatever they want to do. But if you want to get away from maybe biases or that type of thing, then maybe moving it in stages like we used to kind of do. It was, you know, they'd come on at the 75%, stay on there a certain amount of time. It used to be old world, it was like 6 months, and then the general has become more of like a 3-month thing. And then move to a percentage, and then they max out with the 90% because of MCA.
Okay.
So just something to think about, but with that being said, I think it's just something that needs to be brought up to where everybody knows how it's gonna work then. It's gonna be utilized, and
Sure.
especially for our sake, you know, because we're on the end of doing the payroll.
Right.
So I'd just like to know one way or the other. And with that, the last one that we did, we didn't get the originals back. And there was two. I mean, there's the one that Sandy done up, and then this is the one that we gave to you guys that actually had just our information for payroll,
Sure.
but we never got back that
The original.
original.
Okay, and I looked through all
So-
my stuff. I could not find that.
So, I mean, if you guys, have agreed, because Jake kind of signed off on that one. But then this one, the other one we had was, just the general one.
Mm.
So if this is what you guys are doing, I mean, it's your choice to do what you want. I just want to be able to get it out
No, I
so
appreciate
everybody knows how it's being handled. That is my gist coming out of and so it's, that way everything can be the same. You know what I mean? Everybody
Yeah.
has the same.
that. It's a uniform deal.
That's what I want.
Okay, no, I appreciate that, and we'll definitely look through this and digest it and have discussions, because, yeah. I see where you're coming from, Kathy, O, and I appreciate this. All right,
And if you need something else,
yes, ma'am.
any other information,
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, any other comments on non-agenda items?
I got another thing. And the Iran war screwed up my whole weekend here, but and I know you discussed this at the Thursday meeting, because Joanne was there, and about the board, for the senior center, there was a big discussion whether it be an advisory board or a governing board. I don't know if any decisions was ever made on that yet.
Not yet.
Okay. And we don't have a board selected yet either, I guess, either. That's still,
From my understanding from Thursday's meeting, interviews were conducted,
yeah,
and that's as far as I know.
okay. Because I thought that instead of all those individuals coming to the meeting, we would try to discuss with the board, and they would, I mean, we haven't overloaded you guys yet. I mean, 10 or 20 people here, but if that was the case, we would go through the board and then they could bring it up to you, and will be more aware of a lot of things that we're not aware of too, and that's fine. So, but anyway, we'll get there.
Yes, sir.
There is a big difference between an advisory board and a governing board. And Joanne knows more about that than I do, because she's been involved with things, so.
The way that ended, and I think I told you, our the city attorney is looking at the issue and gonna determine legalities, and I think I'm right on the
the
decision.
county intern.
I mean, the county.
Thank you. I'm like,
Sorry.
no, that's fine. I was just like, maybe I misunderstood.
No, it was the county attorney. And, so they're trying to gather more information
Okay.
also. So everybody's in a gathering.
Well, now Sandy was talking about, when we have governing boards and they seem to work, and then there seemed to be a conflict of opinions about
No,
my next.
my understanding is, sure, the
Yeah,
county has governing boards that work perfectly. What the county attorney needs to find out, is my understanding, is how that applies to senior centers.
okay.
Okay, to our senior
Yeah.
center. Now it is funded and ran. Am I correct in this? Okay,
Well, how
so
about
that's what,
senior centers in other towns, how are they?
well, we're talking about us.
Because there's
Yeah.
a lot of other
They've,
centers that are not held under the county.
and they're funded,
not-
they're funded differently.
Okay.
And I mean, that's, I think, a big gist of what I understand, which they can speak better to that, but that was always my understanding,
Okay,
is that a lot of other counties are not administered or ran under the county.
okay.
They are basically out on it.
Well, then Chinook is another deal, I guess, that they are self-funding, I guess, almost.
It's from you guys should be talking.
Yep.
My information that I have gathered. And I can be wrong, and please, I am wrong. You know,
Yeah,
let me know when I am wrong.
No, you're never right.
But you know, they have a 501(c)(3). Okay, so that's part of their funding. It's totally different than our funding.
Right,
Because it's not, again, ran under the county administratively, basically.
And that's why we shouldn't really compare
I
ourselves
know.
to them.
well, that was something I didn't realize until just weeks ago.
Well, the other side is if the state is saying they can pull the funding, I guess that's the proof in the pudding too, is if they can or can't. I mean,
Mhm.
And other information I've gathered is that that is not a definite. They may say that, and it might not be true. We need legal, what you
Yes.
guys are doing, we need legal advice, not somebody's
Can't.
opinion.
Yeah. Well, it would alleviate a lot of the issues in front of us by if you can get a black and white and if it's through the legal or not. It's easier in the long run.
Cool. Nope, thank you. Yep, yeah, Lacey's looking into that and hopefully we'll get an answer here pretty soon. And yeah, we just want to do it the right way. So. All right. Anything else, Doug? I don't want to cut you off. Good. Okay. Any public comments on agenda items? Hearing none.
Are we gonna go next?
Well, I mean, it's not on the agenda, but, at this time, we're gonna go into executive session. We're gonna keep Tiffany here, for minutes, and we're gonna have a discussion. I think
Mosquito, we come.
the weed and mosquito contract. This is a contract that's been on our agenda for quite a few weeks now, since before the beginning of the, calendar year. So we just want to make sure that we're doing this the right way. And since it is a union negotiated contract that Bill has been working with their union stewards as well as the guys at the road department. We'll get some information and see how we need to proceed. So we'll go into executive session now, but thank you everybody for coming. I really appreciate the input.